Lake Tahoe in Reno is a place for the rich and famous to spend their vacations. It's also a place for kids' summer camp. But I'm in this fabulous location for quite a different reason. And like those summer camp kids on a field trip, I'm herded into a gleaming lineup of Jeep Wranglers, the 2018 version. It's a convoy and we are led down the highway towards what we are told is a surprise. I can't wait to see it. But this drive gives me time to get acquainted with the new 2-liter turbocharged engine that sits under the hood of the 4-door hardtop that I'm driving. My initial reaction is that this engine just doesn't feel like a 2-liter. It gets off the line smartly, it accelerates well, and cruising down the highway within the speed limits, of course, it feels effortless. Every time I have to negotiate an overtake maneuver to keep up with the convoy, it comes up with enough power easily, and the 8-speed auto works well in tandem. Notably, this Wrangler has shaved off about 90 kilos using aluminium and high-strength steel for more of its body parts. The 33-inch tires also make less noise than before, and the car feels more settled, planted, and much smoother over the bumps. Although the steering has improved from before, it still isn't bristling with feel, and it has some slack around center. Still, overall, the car feels far more sure-footed around corners with much less body roll. I was happily evaluating this car on a scenic drive around the lake. However, Jeep was more interested in impressing us in its own playground. And soon enough, we hit the dirt. Well, if you're an off-road enthusiast, then you're going to be extremely envious of what I'm about to do today. Well, this is the holy grail of off-roading, the Rubicon Trail. And of course, I have the 2018 version of the Jeep Wrangler, the one with the volume dials turned full up, the Rubicon. What else for this trail? Let's hit it. If there was a worry that this 2-liter turbocharged engine won't really cope with off-roading well because there'll be turbo lag, I think those fears can be allayed completely. It crawls beautifully. I'm pretty much smashing everything out of the park here. And so far, haven't had a problem at all. The crawl ratio of the gearbox is much improved, and it's what makes the progress smoother than expected. And once I get a hang of the amount of throttle required to get this turbo engine spinning up and away, the progress becomes easier.
Awesome, doing great.
The trail begins with a bit of a dirt track. They're just small rocks strewn across and nothing too dramatic. I'm moving at quite a reasonable pace. On the rougher terrain, the improvement in the ride quality was even more apparent. Soon enough, we sight a bunch of Jeep Jamboree staffers, and I look ahead to see what could be a baby elephant sitting on the road. But it's not that, it's just a huge rock that we have to clamber over. Impossible, I'm thinking. Suddenly, all the numbers and figures thrown at us in the presentation the day before, like 27.8-degree breakover angle and 37-degree departure angle, a 44-degree approach angle, and a massive 277 millimeters of ground clearance, come into play. And thank God for that. We're told to disconnect the anti-roll bars by the flip of a switch on the dash. And thank God for that too, because I need the entire 200 millimeters of wheel travel to go over this massive rock. For its size, I'm really amazed by how deftly the Wrangler turns and can avoid all kinds of obstacles. You can really maneuver in and out of gaps so easily, and it literally turns on a coin. It's pretty amazing. The solid Dana axles have lockable diffs both front and rear, and they can be locked at the flip of another switch on the dash. But even in this crazy terrain, we only have to engage it once on the most slippery section of the drive. The Wrangler just seems to feel at home in this terrain. From the inside, I look out at the obstacles, and almost every time my reaction would, really have to be beeped out on TV. And whenever I feel it will not go through that space or over that boulder, the Wrangler just does it with such ease. When I jump out to take pictures and look at it from the outside, it reminds me of a giant tarantula flexing and extending its legs, or wheels in this case, to crawl over just about anything. Rock climbs, steep slopes, water wading, all of it is dispensed with ease. This car makes you feel pretty invincible. No matter what's ahead of you, you feel like, yep, I can do that, it can do it. The way the tires inch over the larger rocks, and even on the bigger drops, they gently and smoothly land, never slamming down. It is impressive. And so inside, you just don't feel the kind of terrain that's below your wheels.
Piece of cake.
Thank you. The Jamboree spotters are brilliant, navigating us inch by inch through some pretty crazy stuff. And despite the capabilities of the car, so severe is the terrain that every now and then it clangs down on one side, hitting a rock. The side steps or rock guards grate loudly, and on the inside it sounds like I've damaged something big. But the Wrangler is as tough as the trail, and we come out without any damage to the car. The 19 kilometers takes us the whole day crawling at literally walking speeds. But this arduous drive is completely worth it. And we finally reach campsite. It's a fabulous location that gives me a little more time to spend noticing the more superficial changes. The 2018 Wrangler carries on the heritage, but it has made tweaks to keep up with the times and regulations. The slotted grille that has its roots in the CJ now gets a bend halfway up, and the windscreen also gets a little bit more rake. All in the interest of improving aerodynamics, which results in better efficiency. The signature round headlamps as well as the tail lamps are now LED on the Rubicon version that we have, and the headlamps also get a DRL halo around the lights. The windshield gets a 4-bolt design to allow it to be folded down easier, and a new header bar remains in place when it's folded down, allowing the rear view to remain in place. Lighter panels and improved latches also allow for much easier removal of both hardtop and softtop. Now, all that off-roading capability means that this cabin is high off the ground, and you do have to haul yourself in. Well, it is the traditional Wrangler, and they don't want to move too much away from what it really authentically is. But this one is more modern, it's more updated. You get things like the touchscreen now, you get the USB-C ports. The glass areas are all a little bit bigger, and that's really great for off-roading. It's a smart two-tone dashboard. Ours is red and grey, with the important electronic tools for off-road sitting in a red-marked area on the central panel. While the parking camera is a handy tool, I would have liked a few more cameras around the car, especially the kind we've seen in other cars that let you know exactly where your tires are. Now, it's not only the glass area that's grown larger, it's the whole Wrangler that's grown. Now, in India, we will get the 4-door version of the Jeep Wrangler, and the good news is that space in the back has increased, and quite considerably if you look at the amount of space that I have up here. In fact, the wheelbase has grown about 2.4 inches, and then the length has grown about 3.8 inches overall. But that opens up a lot of room on the inside, though it may sound quite minuscule. The back seat is comfortable now, and of course you have nifty slots to keep your phone in. You have the USB ports, so pretty much everything that you need. I love the little Jeep icons all over the car, the gear knob, the rear mats, and the tire rims. They're just simple but nice touches. Overall, this car feels more up to date than before. For all its modernity, the Wrangler still retains its authenticity. It's all there in the genetics, every bit of it. only much improved. Absolutely amazing journey it has been on this Rubicon trail, and if you haven't done it, this is definitely a bucket list tick. There's absolutely no doubt about the Wrangler's off-roading capabilities, and if there was ever a sliver of a doubt, well, after seeing this, you'll know it pretty much smashes everything out of the box. But let's face it, most people in India will barely take a tread off tarmac with this, and definitely not in such extreme conditions. So the good news is that as much as the Wrangler has improved in its off-roading capabilities, it also has improved in its on-road manners and has become a far more livable everyday commute as well.
Now here we have a pair of proper hot hatchbacks with upwards of 190 horsepower. But there's a little bit of vendetta going on between these two. You see, the unassuming VW GTI took away the prize at our last comparison test, but the Mini, not to be outdone, is back with the JCW kit, and that's also packing a little bit more power. So, can it win it back in a drag race? Let's find out. In standard, guys, the Mini Cooper S was a close match for the VW GTI's 192 horsepower and 250 Nm. But this limited edition Mini JCW Pro version ups the ante. It now packs 210 horsepower and 300 Newton meters, and that nudges it comfortably ahead of the Volkswagen. All that remains to be seen is if it can use that advantage well on the quarter-mile drag strip. So there you have it, the more powerful Mini JCW Pro Edition did win the drag race, with its power and torque advantage amounting to about half a second at the end of the quarter mile.